What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
I was not aware that false or incomplete information was given to me or to the other ministers or to the other MNAs in the parliament. I wasn't aware of that. How could I have been aware of that? I would have said, this is outrageous. This is not possible. Obviously, none of us, whether it's me, previous minister, or my colleagues in the parliament, we were all not aware of that. If we would have been, we would have said so. So this is outrageous, what we are learning today. We have to take proper actions regarding that, and we will see what is possible. We are in a time when we need money, and we run out of money for some projects, and we see that those people are spending money and not even telling us that they are spending more money than they said they would spend. So this is all outrageous.
So again, the key takeaway from there is, in one word, it is
outrageous.
That's what it is. That's right. That is Geneviève Guilbeault, the transport minister, talking about the fact that for $1 billion, with a B, $1 billion, the SAAQ could still not get together and create that website, the SecClick website, and even now have it working efficiently, properly, whatever. James Mennie is on the line over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, I don't know. Give me your take on this. I mean, this is just crazy. We talked about this a year ago, 2 years ago. But to find out, the takeaway, I think, from the minister, at least for me in hearing her say this, is they got lied to.
Oh, yeah. And you know, it's kind of funny. You listen to these comments, and I don't know. I mean, the first thing that went through my mind was, did you call the cops? Because to falsify information being given to the government about, you know, a publicly funded agency, to me, I'm not a lawyer, and you know, the criminal definition of fraud is very, very broad. But I got to tell you, the other thing that's really worrying me, Aaron, Geneviève Guilbeault was not the Minister of Transport when all this was happening, and she's made it clear, like, 600-700 times today that was the case. She wasn't in charge of transport when this was happening, okay? Eric Kerr, the Minister of Digital Transformation, says this. He's scandalized. He said he was scandalized more often than Geneviève Guilbeault said it was outrageous. And he's saying, you know what, this is nuts. We weren't told. These people were not giving us the right information. The very name of Eric Kerr's portfolio is that you oversee digital transformation. I've got cabinet ministers telling me today, I had no clue this was going on. And I presume that they were being updated by, you know, Post-it notes that were put on someone's finger, brought into their office and said, everything's okay, Chief. There was no third-party oversight on this. There was no surveillance of this the so-called transformation, even though it was clear at the time we were reporting on it that the thing was a mess, that was a fiasco. And now everybody, to me, is simply running for cover, blaming people who haven't been named, blaming anonymous bureaucrats for having falsified or given incomplete information. And, you know, Aaron, let's be clear here. The original price tag for turning this online operation, you know, getting it up and running, was supposed to be $638 million, which is a lot of money anyway. As we speak, it's at $1.1 billion, but the meter is still running. We have no idea how much this is going to cost us at the end. All this happening, Aaron, on the same day when a lot of us wake up, when a lot of our listeners on the South Shore woke up to discover that a year and a half after their bus service was deliberately canceled across the Champlain Bridge to accommodate the REM, that the REM is so broken, the REM is so useless, the REM is so completely a mess, a fiasco, that they, from henceforth, until further notice, service across the Champlain Bridge will be provided by buses. Rush hour service, that is, and which is kind of unfortunate because even outside of rush hour today, service on the REM was interrupted once again. Yeah. We're talking about billions of dollars here, Aaron, whether it's the SAC, whether it's the REM. The fact is, this money we will never know where this money went. We will never know about the expenditures for the REM trains. This government, I've said it before, doesn't have a clue about what it's doing. It has no idea what it's doing. The only thing this government knows how to do is find an enemy of the Quebec people and point the finger. And now we are seeing very tangible evidence that when you're a complete and totally incompetent when it comes to administering the government of Quebec, guess who ends up holding the bill? Guess who ends up holding the stick? This is far from over. So take your choice. It's Scandal Thursday here on CJAD, folks. Take your choice. Is it the multi-billion-dollar commuter train that doesn't work, or the semi-billion-dollar digitalization of what should have been a very, very simple process that is a complete fiasco and has cabinet ministers running for cover? This goes beyond scandal, Aaron. If this government were an employee, they'd be called into the office and told to clean out their desk. This is exactly where we are. And God help us, we're still stuck with them for another year.
Yeah, so what's interesting, of course, is we already lost the head of the Auto Insurance Board once, right? Was it Marcellet who was forced to step down, right? Yeah,
because of this.
Right. And now here we are, nothing seems to have changed. So you got to imagine there's going to be at least another head or two to roll on this, no?
If we find them, but if you listen, Aaron, you know what they say, if everyone's to blame, no one's to blame.
Right.
And if the responsibility is spread out amongst the inevitable large fields of Quebec government bureaucrats swaying back and forth, doing whatever it is that bureaucrats do, but apparently not getting the SAAQ website up and running, we will never get to the bottom of this. In the end, all we will get is the bill handed to us, and then the government saying, oh, gee, you know what? We're going to have to cut back on services because that deficit is getting real big.
Yeah. This is, as soon as I heard this morning and that $1 billion number and heard how angry Geneviève Guilbeault was, I thought, remember the ArriveCan app and all the stuff we went through for that to find out the money wasted on that? How is it that we have such a big AI industry or big tech industry in this country where we, develop things, but then they don't work here, they work everywhere else where we export them to? How does that happen?
I think it's because they know that most Canadian politicians, be they at the federal or the provincial level, have the same, how can I put it, tech savvy, okay, as like your great granddad trying to change the password on the Netflix account. You know what I mean? It's like it's going to take forever, and they don't even know what that button does. In fact, they didn't know there were buttons involved in the whole equation. I think that's exactly what happened here, and I think the fact though that we have these cabinet ministers who are responsible. Don't turn around and blame some bureaucrat. I know it's very in vogue to turn around and the whole idea, I guess it's too Westminster, I guess it's too Anglais, the idea of cabinet, of ministerial responsibility. But the fact is, Geneviève Guilbeault should at least be, I realize she wasn't there, but at least she should be, moving heaven and earth to get to the bottom of this. Eric Kerr, who was there from day one, who was supposedly in charge of digital transformation, I would be asking the Premier of Quebec, who also apparently didn't know a thing, do you think maybe it's time to get someone else in that portfolio? Because clearly digital transformation right now involves running headfirst at full speed into a wall.
Fair enough. All right, let me get to what I started the show with, and I know you want to talk about this as well. We had this Léger poll that basically shows a quarter of Canadians, 27%, now view the U.S. as an enemy nation. And to be fair, Jim, that's kind of unfair in terms of the way it's phrased, but it basically shows there are a lot of Canadians out there who no longer look at the U.S. as an ally, all this based on Donald Trump's threats and cajoling and whatever else. What do you make of this?
Absolutely. First of all, I'd be very careful here because who knows what enemy means in terms of that. I would certainly say as an adversary, I don't know about you, buddy, but I grew up, there was always a sort of sullen resentment about the Americans and how the Americans thought, they were the best at everything and whatever. And to a certain extent, it did identify us as Canadians. As Trudeau once said, that we weren't Americans. All that said, I want to make this clear. You know what? There's a hockey game tonight. Folks, this is Canada. It's a hockey game. I saw a survey, I think it was commissioned by Rogers. Canadian patriotism will soar if there's a win tonight for Team Canada. And I'm thinking, does that mean it's going to tank if we lose? The fact is, everyone's got to take a very, very deep breath here, realize that Donald Trump is nothing but a troll. 51st state, calling Trudeau a governor, it's all part of his shtick. This is a complete ignoramus who only is good at getting under people's skin. The idea with Donald Trump is just stay cool, let it go over your head, and as God help us, as varied an assembly of advice as Mark Carney or indeed Stephen Harper. Let him actually do something, then let us react in kind. But in the meantime, stop giving this guy the credibility he doesn't possess. He is owned by big tech. He is owned by the Russians. He is owned by money. He's a finger puppet, and he's an idiot, okay? So stop letting your blood pressure go up because of this clown, and understand. Enjoy the game tonight. Cheer for Canada tonight. But understand in the end, and I think most of us do understand that at bottom, it's just a game.
Yeah, I'm only half surprised that Trump didn't say, you know what, if U.S. wins this game tonight, they should be given Canada by virtue of the win. So at least I'm happy that didn't get
the
said,
day is young, Aaron.
Yeah, that's true. We're not done yet. Jim, thank you.
Doesn't matter.